first tennis major is underway down under with the Australian Open getting started. And we're going to take a look at the tournament, a little deep dive, and talk about some of the major storylines with former tennis pro and NBC local sports reporter Julia Elbaba, who joins me now. Julia, long time no see, but I'm glad to see you because you clearly got the memo today. You decided to bring the gold. I'm wearing the gold. You're wearing the gold. I love it. I like it. How you doing?
It's a golden start to the year. Australian Open, down under. You know what? New year, new tennis season. I'm here for it.
Yo, I like it. Golden start to the year. I love it there. All right, so let's keep things golden. And Julia, we're going to start ladies first. And we're going to start with the women's side of this. And I think one of the players, I think most people would say, to watch in this tournament has to be Naomi Osaka and her return to action. She's the last WTA player to win consecutive majors. So what are your expectations for her return to tennis here at the Australian Open?
Let's go into the results because I know that's why we're really here. But results-wise, I don't have too many expectations for her. It's her first match back in a long time. And she played in the warm-up event, the Australian Open, and showed that, you know, she's not playing as clean as she has. She's definitely struggling, working through some kinks. But if there's one thing we're going to see from her this Australian Open and this year ahead, she's going to have a different mindset. She looks like a happy, just loving life out on the tennis court. And I think she's just going to be playing for her daughter out there, and that's going to be the biggest difference at the Australian Open from her this year.
Yeah, I'm intrigued to see the mindset for Osaka going forward here. And as you talked about the motivation now as a mom playing for her daughter, so it's going to be good to see her. And hopefully she has joy in the game playing here in her first major in quite some time. Now, going for a second consecutive major, since we just talked about the last person to do it being Naomi Osaka, is Coco Gauff. And she's coming off her U.S. Open win last year. Do you view her as the favorite at this year's Australia Open, or do you view this as a wide open tournament on the women's side?
Dex, I got to say, it's a wide open tournament on the women's side. I have 4 contenders. We won't go into it quite yet, but Coco Gauff is definitely one of those 4. She's on the side of the draw with Aryna Sabalenka, who was last year's Australian Open champion. And if you recall, it was the U.S. Open final matchup, Coco Gauff, Sabalenka. So will Coco go so deep in the draw? Absolutely. I say she'll make the semifinals, but there's just something about the U.S. Open that I think she's like a home crowd. She just thrives off that home crowd, where in the Australian Open, it's going to be a little different. You know, people love her because she's Coco Gauff and she's amazing and she's young, but I don't have her as the favorite this year.
All right, Coco Gauff not as the favorite in this one. We'll get to your predictions later. We're going to see what Julia predicts in terms of who's going to win on the women's side. Now, to the men's side, Julia, many tennis fans, you know this, they were looking forward to the return of Rafael Nadal to the court, but the 37-year-old announced earlier this week that he is withdrawing from the Australian Open due to a micro tear on a muscle. How big of a blow is this for tennis fans, and do you think we will see Rafa healthy in a major again?
37-year-old Rafa Nadal, he's going through it. We were so excited. Tennis fans around the world were so excited to see the king of clay. I know the Australian Open's not clay, but that's what he is, out on the Australian Open courts. But you know what? It's better that he's more careful now, because I don't think he would have won the Australian Open anyway. Let's get him back stronger and healthier than ever, maybe, for the French Open. I think that was a smart play to be careful, because he's definitely going to be at the French Open, healthy or not. This might be his last year, but he's definitely making it to the French Open.
Yeah, and I think fans would definitely like to see that. You can see the king of clay on clay at the French Open. That would be fantastic. Yeah, I think we all would like to see that, so we hope that he gets better. And I think one of the major questions, or major question, I'll put singular, when you head into the men's game as far as this tournament goes is, can anyone, whether it's Daniel Medvedev or Carlos Alcaraz, can anybody beat Novak Djokovic? Or is he the favorite here in this tournament on the men's side?
Yeah, unlike the women's side, the men's side, in my opinion, is very one-sided. Although Djokovic did drop a match in the United Cup earlier this year to Alex de Minaur, who's from Australia. So not to say that Alex will be able to beat Djokovic in the Australian Open, but is that a sign of anything? Probably not. It's Djokovic. He takes the Grand Slams way more seriously. It could be, an Alcaraz Djokovic final, Daniil Medvedev Alcaraz semifinal to face Djokovic, but it's hard to predict anyone besides Djokovic to win it.
All right. Well, that brings us to predictions and pickings. You kind of tipped your hand there on the men's side, but our last thing I got to ask you is, who do you see coming out on top on the women's side and the men's side at the 2024 Australian Open? Got to make the picks, Julia. Who do you got?
I mean, sorry to give it away in the last answer, but I think we all know that Djokovic is the one to beat. He's just so solid. Did you know, here's a fact, in the last 5 Australian Opens, he only didn't win once. That's absolutely insane. So we have to say that Djokovic is going to win it this year. On the women's side, I was tossed in between Iga Swiatek, Sabalenka, Coco Gauff, and Rybakina. But you know what? I'm going to go with the 2023 champ, Aryna Sabalenka, because she's just having so much fun out there on the blue courts, and she's feeling confident. She's ripping through her shots. I'm going to go with her.
All right, going with Sabalenka. I wonder how motivated she is after falling in the U.S. Open to Coco Gauff. You think she'd like to bounce back here, and it would be a good statement for her to open up 2024. Well, speaking of opening up 2024, tennis. Back with the first major of the year, the Australian Open. Check that out. Julia Elbaba, she will be all over it for NBC Sports Local. Julia, as always, it is a pleasure to talk tennis with you. And again, you got to get all the credit for rocking the gold today. Love it.
Thank you. You know what else I'm rocking, though, Dex? Some Coco Gauff signed picks right here.
Okay.
I got my hands on some Coco Gauff New Balance sneaks. So I know she wasn't my top pick, but at least I'll look good on the tennis court.
Well, hey, at least you showed her some love. You didn't pick her to win the tournament, but you got to show her some love for the kicks that she said. Those are some really nice kicks, Julia. Thank you for the time. Appreciate you.
Thank you, Dax. Take care.